Hey everyone, it's Nathan here. I'm sitting down with Matthew.
Hey everybody.
And welcome to Coming Down. And look who's back from Maui. How was it, my man?
It was awesome.
Yeah. You were there for a week?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It was, there were times when it was windy and a little bit rainy, but it was 70 to 80 degrees the whole time, and it's
of course
in Hawaii, so, like, how could I be bummed about anything?
Yeah.
It was great.
And you were just there partying with friends?
Yeah, so my two partners in crime from high school, who will definitely be featured on this pod, at least in stories, but maybe also in some guest episodes, Doug and Sean, we were just kind of the fucking three amigos in high school. We experienced the 90s acid boom together.
Nice.
And Doug's birthday was recently, so his partner decided to help him get her name is Lindsay. Thank you, Lindsay. She decided to help him get to Maui and for his birthday, and Sean thought it would be a great idea to invite my silly ass along.
Nice.
And he helped me out with some frequent flyer miles, got me some tickets there, and put us both up for the week.
Wow. So getting the gang back together for a week?
Absolutely.
Nice.
It was pretty awesome, just hanging out with my brothers in fucking Hawaii,
That's awesome, man. Yeah, and like you used to live there, right?
Yeah, I was a beach bum for about 4 months back in, God, what would that be? The year of our Lord, 1998 or 7 or something like that.
Wow, that's so funny. You were there like 2 years before my friend Brett, who also friend of the pod, made our theme song.
Oh,
but,
shit.
Yeah, he lived on Kauai for like 6 months, I think.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, God, we all had such similar trajectories. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
It is so crazy. Right on. So any particular funny anecdotes or tales from this one?
Oh man, there was plenty of stuff. So one of the cool things that I got to see that our listeners might not really know about Maui and Hawaii in general is just that it's actually very rural. Like, most of the landmass is occupied by agriculture of some kind, whether that's growing crops or even livestock. There's tons of livestock over there because it's really easy to grow feed. I mean, it's just a breadbasket for anything you want to grow, practically.
Right. Well, and you could grow year round.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, it's a very rural place, and up the mountainside, there's all these creeks that don't always run year round, and anywhere there's a creek bed, it's exposed lava rock that's been also eroded by waters. And oh my God, even the dry rocks there are so fucking slippery because, like, the dirt there is clay and there's algae and stuff, and it just coats the rocks. The first day that I was there, I just fucking fell right in a creek because I was trying to skip along the dry rocks to get to the other side, and first rock I stepped on, just ass in the drink. So anyway, these creek beds, like, we go up country to visit an old homie of Sean's named Greg. He's got this beautiful spread, and they've got this big creek bed on one side of the property, and these guys have built these custom trucks that they call rock crawlers. They're enormous 4x4s that can almost drive up a sheer cliff, and they're just like rallying up this creek bed,
Nice.
Like, they've got all these lights set up and like this kind of viewing area with like big logs to sit on up at the top of the cliff on the side of the creek, and they're just rallying out there.
That sounds fun.
Hell yeah. They had this huge spread, like traditional Hawaiian food, roast duck, Chinese food, like barbecue.
Nice.
You name it. Tons of awesome pastry. I mean, these people are multi-talented and have great taste and are also just out there driving up creek beds in trucks. It was
right on.
It was killer, man.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, we were just playing in the surf, and Sean grew up out there. Me and Doug grew up in Oregon, but Sean always spent the winters in Oregon, so he went to school with us. And we never really got to play in Hawaii with him.
Oh, yeah.
Just having the band back together.
Yeah.
And on Sean's stuff.
And he still lives out there?
Yeah, he actually lives in the house he grew up in. He took it over from his mom, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right on. Hell yeah. Well, while you were playing out in tropical paradise, I went back to Colorado and froze my ass off. So I went back for a friend's wedding, and packing the weddings in. But yeah, it was cool. I just went for the weekend, and I don't have anything too crazy to say, except Friday I flew in. It was gorgeous, like 50 degrees. Sunday when I flew out, pretty nice, 50 degrees. But Saturday, the day of the wedding, up in the mountains, snowed so much, like 6-7 inches easy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And they still had the ceremony outdoors, but it made for a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. So congrats to Jason and Christy for getting married. It was a rad wedding.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a whole lot of fun. And then got to stay in a cabin that had a pool table and a hot tub. So
Nice.
definitely enjoyable, and got to hang out with some old friends.
Rad.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, that was a detail I left out, not to brag, but they also had a hot tub and a big amphitheater with a stage and a live band.
What?
Yeah.
Well, fine. Yeah, I mean, Hawaii's gonna win already anyway, but
Yeah, and, huge shout out to Lindsay. She's also been promoting the pod in Hawaii.
Oh, right
and,
on.
We'd love to get her on the show. She's also got, like, a country western singing gig that I'd love to plug if she ever gets me the details on that.
cool.
So.
Right on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cool. Well, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah, buddy. Been forever.
Glad we're back in the room.
Hell yeah.
And so I guess we'll just tell everyone what's going on with this episode. This one is another guest episode. It's a friend of ours who we kept anonymous for reasons you'll find out. But it's pretty rambly, and I don't really say that in a negative way. Just, buckle in for three dudes drinking some tequila and cracking some beers and just sort of chatting about whatever. I think it's a really fun episode, and there's a lot of sentimental bits in it, which I think are good for the Thanksgiving week. So
yeah, it's real genuine and just heartfelt, and we had a great time making it. So.
Yeah, he's one of our best buds. So we definitely enjoyed having him, and we'll have him on again. So beyond that, we'll just do the housekeeping stuff and then turn you all loose. And so we'll just let you know we don't have any new patrons this week, but still shout out to everyone who is contributing. It's making a huge difference for us. And if you'd like to contribute, you can go to patreon.com/comingdownpod. Also check out our website. It is comingdownpod.com. That has all the links to everywhere that you can find us. Each episode, we keep managing to find relevant show notes, so check them out. I'm sure we'll come up with something for this episode as well. Definitely follow us on Twitter @ComingDownPod, or email us comingdownpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you if you want to get on the show. That's the best way to hit us up. And then you can find it on all your usual platforms: Spotify, Google Play. We are on SoundCloud, but only the first couple episodes, and we're going to get a premium on that eventually. YouTube, and then if you can rate and review us on Stitcher and iTunes, we'd love you forever. And beyond that, enjoy this episode. Define by my job, but I don't want to go by like.
I don't know that we've ever called each other by name.
My middle name
even
or something.
Once.
Yeah, I mean, like when we've had guests on before, it's
We've
like, hey, I'm
introduced
sitting
them.
down with like John or Will or
That's
whatever.
it.
But yeah.
So I don't think it's going to come up. If we have to refer to you, it will be as Teach.
Yeah. But yeah, so so we're sitting down with our dear friend.
Teacher.
Whatever.
Teshar.
Teshar.
Our
Prof.
Our friend Seafood. Oh, Prof. I like that.
Yeah. But
like,
yeah.
do you want to talk about the end? Like, is that a story worth telling? Like, why I want to remain anonymous, or just fucking gloss over
if
it?
you want to say that,
whatever
lay it
you
down,
want to
man.
whatever you feel comfortable like talking about and explaining. I mean,
Well, it's not. It's
worth
up to you.
It's not too far to say that like you're in a profession where you're anonymity. I cannot say that word. Anonymity, where your anonymity is like important. So so that's fine. And like we do get into some like weirder subjects on this cast. So
yeah, no, I totally understand wanting to protect your identity when this is going to be public and you're already somewhat of a public figure. So
yeah, too public.
Too public.
Right. Sometimes.
Yeah, luckily for us, like, I don't know, I guess...
I'm not running for senator. I don't know about you.
Yeah, like, I guess it would be weird if my employers, like, heard this shit, but it's also in my past. Like, a lot of the stuff we talk about is in my past, so whatever.
Yeah, statute of limitations is expired, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
so.
totally. Right on. Yeah, so what do you want to talk about today, man?
How do we want to get started? I don't know. I guess the things that I want to talk about are... I kind of feel so. I teach. I came to teaching late in life. Like I'm old, but I spent like 10 years bartending before I started.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Teaching. So I've always kind of had this weird like dual life, where as a teacher I'm always kind of the crazy person. And a lot of that is because of my experiences. But then with everybody else I know from like my like bar life, I'm like the straight like you guys like like I'm the straight laced square fucking professional dude. And it's just such a hard thing with my identity where I have like that aspect, and then when I go to work,
but you're kind of the wild one.
I'm the crazy guy who's like he was a bartender. Oh my gosh, alcohol, and you're just like, it's like yeah, bitch, you need to fucking get drunk.
Cut loose, right?
Ooh, alcohol, dangerous.
Have you heard of the fucking dispensary? Come on, you complain about pain. This is actually a real thing. We have a counselor who like has any chronic illness you can think of, she has it. And I remember at one time at lunch, I'm like, just go to a fucking dispensary. And she, like, her mind was blown. I'm like, everything you're describing, these fucking aches and pains that your doctors won't diagnose, this weird appetite thing that your doctor won't diagnose, it's like, you need to take some drugs. You need to smoke some weed, and you will be happier.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
At least fucking pop a gummy and see if it works.
Right,
yeah.
give it a shot, yeah.
But that's not the world
they
they
have,
come from.
like, stigma. Well, and also... if you're in the educational world, there's a concern about drug testing and stuff, right?
You know, there is technically in my contract that we can be drug tested and that we are not to use even marijuana. But no one has ever been drug tested.
Right, but for your regular person who really has never experienced that, and they're sort of like coming into this world of it's legal in all these places now and kind of just mainstay, and you just, you know, it's commonplace. I think some people still don't get, like, there's still a stigma, right?
I think there is, but it also for me, it's the question of, and again, I'm the wild one, it's the question of, like, who are you talking to? Because in my building, let me think off the top of my head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't want to give too much away. Small school. So we'll say 30% of the staff smokes. I have smoked weed with 30% of the staff.
Oh.
So and we're
That seems realistic, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's low. Honestly, I think we might be even lower than most schools, but because it's just normal these days, especially where we're at in Oregon.
Yeah,
and, you know, even before legalization, it was normal. And
well, right, exactly. A lot of teachers smoked even before it was legal.
So my wife grew up in Humboldt County, Arcata. And she said, like, her teachers were high all the time. Like, she didn't smoke. She didn't smoke weed till she was like 22, because like she associated smoking weed with the man, because it was all the teachers who were high.
Oh shit, that's so funny.
So being counterculture was being straight edge, which is its own thing too.
Well, it's a crazy thing. Like, I know a bunch of kids who grew up in Eugene, and like for them to rebel was becoming Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, because their folks are hippies who smoke weed. So
Absolutely.
It's like, I'm gonna go straight so that like I can stick it to you, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, oh man, you see that so often too. It's so funny. Wait, so okay, now while you were bartending for all those years, were you in school getting your teaching degree? Like, that was the goal, you know?
I mean, after a while, you know, like I kind of so my path was I went to college, I got my degree in philosophy, and then quickly realized there's nothing to do with that degree.
But I commend you, honestly.
I was a first generation college student. Like, my parents never went to college. Their whole thing was like, go to college, and apparently it'll work itself out. We don't know how this shit works. Good luck.
I mean, the bravery, like.
So I did that thing, and nothing worked out, and I was just slinging drinks. I was just talking to people all day, which itself was a challenging experience, like learning how to talk to people, learning how to interact with people, because I grew up in San Diego, which is a military town, tourist town.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the sort of place where it's like I'd get hired at a new restaurant, and they'd be like, "Hey, where are you from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm from here." And they'd look at me like I was a goddamn unicorn, like, "Who's from San Diego?"
Right. Right.
Like, really? You're from here and you're still here? Like, what's going on?
What's wrong with you?
That's a little bit of SoCal in general, though, right?
Yeah, because it's a destination, you know?
Totally.
People go there for the weather, people go there for the lifestyle, whatever that means. And honestly, like, living in Portland, these last 12 years or whatever it's been now, similar sort of vibe here where it's like, the locals, there is a resentment to, especially people like me from California who move up here, looking for a better life. But,
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I
for
get
sure.
it. I get it. I lived the other end of it.
Yep. Yeah, I've definitely felt that being a transplant here. Because, and I even kind of feel bad because, especially when I moved here, I mean, Portland was still kind of a little bit of the hidden oasis, kind of the cool place that people didn't totally know was the cool place that they wanted to be. And I mean, now that shit has been blown the fuck up by television shows whatnot. But yeah, and so I definitely even kind of felt bad of like, hey, I'm sorry, I don't mean to come and populate your cool little fucking thing you have going on here. Like, I just wanted a piece of it because it is pretty chill. So
when so I get this new job where I started bussing tables while I was in college. I ended up bartending, because I was young. Like, I was 21 when they first made me a bartender. And I think I think it's the sort of thing where it's kind of like, I'm shown I'm not a complete wild lunatic, so I must be responsible enough to do this shit.
You show up on time and don't have a drug habit.
Clearly I'm fine. All right, he's legal. Let's fucking put him in the position of leadership, like bartending's leadership. But it kind of is.
I mean, ostensibly,
And so I remember, like, they're training me to bartend, and it's all these fucking garbage drinks that nobody. It was an old spaghetti factory.
Oh no! Right.
So like, it's just fucking like green apple martinis
black
and like
opals and
fucking not even black opals. That's too fancy.
Oh shit!
But I do remember one time, like the bar manager ordered a case of butterscotch schnapps instead of a bottle of butterscotch schnapps.
God.
So we had buttery nipples on the menu for like 2 months, trying to get rid of those fucking things.
Christ on a cracker. Oh my god.
But this is something that I thought, like, just thinking about teamwork and that sort of thing. Like, they hazed me on my last day of training. On the last day of training, it was a thing. Like, okay, you're about to join the, brotherhood and sisterhood of the bartenders of the old spaghetti factory in San Diego.
Oh god.
You're about to become one of us. Thus, you must go through the ritual. And the ritual was, you'd have like the rubber mat that you'd make your drinks on.
Oh shit.
Right?
Oh, so you had to do a real bar mat?
We do a mat shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, everyone knows it's your last day of training. And so everybody is slipping shit into that motherfucker.
Oh, fucking no.
All night long. They're
just creme de menthe.
Oh, Sambuca and some Tabasco. And, like, let's just fucking make the nastiest fucking cocktail we can.
Build an entire Coors in there. Yeah.
And so they take it and they fucking pour it. They pour it out, and it's just this brown. It's like they pour it into a tumbler. It's just this brown fucking grossness. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, you guys suck. But then, luckily, one of the bus boys, he comes over. He brings me a big at Spaghetti Factory. You get a loaf of bread with every meal, and so we get this little loaf of bread. And he's like, "You're gonna need this after." So I fucking take that goddamn shot.
Oh, I'm gonna throw up just thinking about it.
I gagged once. And then I just shoved the bread in my mouth for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I cut my chops, and that's how I kind of learned that the rules kind of don't apply when you have a little bit of power, because suddenly I'm a bartender, and the next thing I know, I'm not leaving a shift sober. I'm just getting hammered every single shift. Like, I'm 21 years old. Like, I drink more at work than I drink at home at this point. It was just insane. Like, we would just let's open up the bar book and see what we can make, and there's no accountability.
Oh man, young bartender thug life, dude. Jesus.
Yeah, I got to bartend for a brief period, which I sort of... Man, I don't know if I should say this story. Well, whatever. It's a pretty short thing. I basically blackmailed the owner of the club that I worked at to let me bartend, because I didn't have any experience, but I wasn't making any money just being the sound guy and the booker, and I was like, let me bartend my nights. I've got a different guy who can run sound. I'll still book, I'll still do all this stuff. And he just kind of didn't want to let me do it. And then he double booked one of my shows. I had requested a Saturday night, which I could do from time to time. Be like, hey, I've got a big band coming through on a Saturday night. I'll blow it up, and I always did. And but then he double booked some DJs on my night, and I was like, hey, why are you advertising this show that's on my night that I have a show? And he was like, oh shit, this is a problem. And actually, I had booked that rapper Greaves, who actually lives out here now.
Holy shit.
But he was flying in other rappers from around the country, and so it really was going to be a big show. I was going to actually probably sell more than the fucking DJs that he had booked.
Right.
And so we went and had a meeting one day about how to work this out, and I was like, well, look, dude, people already have plane tickets. This is already happening, so if we can't find another venue, we're gonna have to split our show somehow, which we worked it out. So we had kind of a second room. So he was gonna put his DJs in the second room while my hip hop show happened, and then when the hip hop show ended, he was gonna move his other two headline DJs out, and we were gonna run it a little late. However, he was like, what can I do to make this up to you? And I was like, let me bartend. And he was like, fine. Nice. So that's how I ended up bartending for a couple months. And then, big mistake on his part, because that was the thing. I'd close down a show, and we'd just open the bartending book. We'd lock the door, and I'd just be like, all right. We'd crank our music on the PA, play pool, just make drinks until 4 a.m.
After hours, man.
Yeah, dude. It was ridiculous.
Did you guys do after hours at Spaghetti Factory?
Well, they were pretty, it was so fucked up. It's
they had to keep it.
We had to keep it mellow.
Yeah.
So we weren't allowed to drink at work.
Well, of course.
But if we were bartending, no one gave a fuck if we were just pounding drinks behind the bar.
Right.
And in California, I guess the law is different. If a customer buys you a drink, you can drink it.
Yeah.
It's not that way in Oregon.
Not at all.
But
it's that way in a lot of states, actually.
But we would do that all night long, and we would go to fucking Applebee's after. It's fucking downtown San Diego before it got gentrified. It was all, there's nothing there.
TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays and Dick's Last Resort. That's where we would go. Because there's nothing else down there.
Weird.
It fucking sucked, dude.
Yeah.
There's a reason I left San Diego. That's all I'm saying. There's a fucking lack of culture for sure. But yeah, we'd do that. We'd get fucked up, and it took me a while to kind of find my bearings, but I kind of figured it out. Had a couple weirdo regulars, you get the military, you get fucking tourists in there, you get some weird people. One of the weirdest interactions I ever had, and it's just stupid. Someone's like, yeah, can I get a long neck? And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. What's a long
from
neck?
Wisconsin? What the fuck?
What's a long neck? I don't know.
Oh, just
it's a bottle.
a long neck.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. See, I did not know this. I've never heard that phrase before.
I've only heard it because I
right?
know someone from Wisconsin.
They're like,
it's gonna go drink a couple of long necks down by the lake or so.
It's a Midwest thing. Yeah.
Huh. Well, Wisconsin is also fucking famous for their old fashioned is different than the way people drink old fashions in the rest of the country.
What's their recipe?
In Wisconsin, you muddle cherry, pour in either bourbon or brandy, and then you ask if you want it sour or sweet.
Holy mother of God.
Okay? If you want it sweet, that's 7-Up. If you want it sour, that's Squirt.
Ugh.
I submit to you that is not an old fashioned.
It is
that
not
is something else entirely.
It is not an old fashioned at all. It is not an old fashioned at all. And so, but once I learned this, I was able to navigate these situations better. Just a few weekends ago, I was in Bend, and we're we're at the bar, and this lady orders she doesn't order the old fashioned from what I see, but she brings back her old fashioned. She says, "This is not an old fashioned." The bartender's like, "That's an old fashioned." She's like, "Usually there's muddled fruit and soda," and I'm like, and I'm just sitting there at the bar, and I'm like, "Are you from Wisconsin?" And she's like, "Yes."
Shit!
I'm like, we have a regional difference about what this cocktail is. And
I love that you were there for that moment.
No, and I was able to. Well, the fucking bartender was like pissed. He's like, "Bitch, don't you tell me how to make." And I'm like, which is the wrong mindset for a bartender.
As a bartender, like you try to bridge that gap.
I'm gonna let this guy have it. But I was just kind of like, oh, let me mediate this because I understand where both of you are coming from. I'm very much like, as a bartender over time, and this is part of my thing as a teacher too. Like, I've totally given up thinking about things like what is the proper way to do things, and more, what does my customer need?
Right.
What does my person need? What does my student need? What does my guest need? Once I made that kind of mind frame flip, instead of like what's going to make me money, turn and burn. Once I started thinking about what can I do to make my guests happier, I started making the most money in bartending.
Damn straight.
Well, right. Well, because you're kind of a lot of things. You're a therapist,
Oh, God, yeah.
almost first and foremost, depending on the bar you're at. But, you're the person that's making someone's night,
Yeah.
Like, you are the person, you're the drug dealer, man. Like, you're the person that they're coming to create their experience, And especially if they're doing cocktails or anything interesting, not just pouring beers, like, yeah, you're doing a lot.
Damn straight.
Being a bartender is a really respectable position, and a good bartender, I will give so much credit to, because to be a good bartender is very hard. And I never was a good bartender. I knew how to work it a little bit and milk my tips, and I always kind of had the luxury of having, working on slower nights so I could be that therapist and stuff, but I never fully got to the point where, when you have a good bartender, where you sit at the bar, they'll chat with you, they're friendly, they get you exactly what you need, they craft your evening for you,
I definitely have had my moments as a bartender. I think where I've fallen down is in only being able to deliver a really fucking excellent experience to people that I really get along with. They have to be folks that, I'm on the level with.
Yeah.
I can't fake it well enough to, give some assholes from out of town, the mind-blowing experience, unless the stars just happen to align right and I give a shit. If somebody puts me off, I'm just like, yeah, whatever, I'll give you the normal service, but I'm not gonna sit around and talk to you because I fucking hate you,
Well, right, because that's how most people treat their customer service job nobody wants to be in their customer service job, and so when you're just my customer, I just want to get you in and out of my presence as quick as possible. So,
but most of the time, if I wasn't already man, fuck this place, I just want to go home, I would be like, so how are you doing? And start the conversation. And if it got rolling, 9 times out of 10, I was able to deliver that good bartender experience.
Yeah.
But if it didn't immediately start going somewhere, I was just like, whatever, I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, but everybody wants a different thing from their bartender experience. You get the people that show up, they don't want to talk to you. You're right.
Yeah,
I was
able to deliver to those folks.
Oh yeah. Those are easy.
Yeah,
those are the people we call the daily alcoholic, and they're there on time, and they just don't want to speak, and they just fucking show up.
Oh, I have been that person.
Some people don't want to talk to you. Some people want to talk too much, and then some people are using you as a prop. Some people are using you as a part of their experience that night.
That happened a lot.
Oh, which are you going to tell?
I'm going to tell, yeah.
Get in there.
So, I already know this one, but this is such a good one. This is so interesting.
Later in my bartending career, I'm working at a more upscale sort of place. And we kind of do dinner, desserts, freshly squeezed cocktails. In the summertime, I run out to the little patio and clip some rosemary and put it in a cocktail. It's a whole presentation thing.
That's my shit right there.
And people go fucking nuts for it. But we had this regular named Bonnie, and Bonnie would come in, every couple of weeks. She would come in every couple of weeks, and you would know Bonnie was there. She'd always sit at the bar, and it was always with a dude, and it was never the same dude twice. And so she would come in with her date, and she got a really bad reputation with the bar staff very quickly, and the kitchen staff, because she was never happy. She would always complain about something. You know, she would always find a reason that her drink wasn't what she wanted. She would find a reason that the dish wasn't cooked enough. She would find a reason that her dessert wasn't, she'd get the triple chocolate cake and it wasn't chocolatey enough. And at that point we're like, I don't know what to do for you, lady.
I'm gonna have to send back this dessert.
This is as chocolatey as we get.
Right.
So
we don't make it any other way. So
can't put any more chocolate in chocolate.
Yeah, it's like this is it. What do you want? And so she was always a pain in the ass every time she sat down. And then you'd be like, "Hi, Bonnie, like, oh fuck, what are we doing?" And it was just like white knuckling, like I just gotta endure her for an hour until she gets the hell out of here.
Right.
Well, eventually,
and she'd only be in for like an hour.
An hour. She'd do the 3-course meal, salad. But I mean, we were fast enough to get her in and out in an hour. She wouldn't drink that much.
And was this
one
at
cocktail.
Your upscale?
At my
sort of
upscale
place?
spot.
Okay.
Yeah, my upscale spot. Maybe an hour and a half, but like, not hang around too long.
Right.
But eventually she leaves one day, and another regular comes up to me, who I've never really talked to. I knew he liked white wine. That's about all I knew about the guy. He comes up to me. He's like, "You know who that is?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's Bonnie." Like, what is? Yeah, she's the fucking bane of my existence. I didn't say that, right? but I'm like, that's Bonnie. Like that's how, he's like, "No, she was a Playboy playmate in like the I don't know."
Whoa.
In my mind, it's the 70s, but it must have been the 80s or something like that.
Probably
to me, she was an
80s.
older lady. Lady. But he's like, yeah, she was a playmate back in the day. And then things suddenly started to click about everything that was going on in all of these interactions. She's always there with a different man. Why is she always there with a different man? It's like she's like, I don't know if it's sex work. I don't know what exactly she's doing when she gets home with that guy, but there is definitely a little bit of like sexual celebrity associated with her that I just was not privy to. Okay, that's what she's doing. Okay, why does she always send something back? Well, that's control.
Yeah.
She has to show publicly that she will not put up with things she doesn't like. And that's the thing. She would always come in.
Shit ain't right. She won't tolerate it.
No,
she's so fascinating.
She'd come in every single time, and she'd ask about our hot sauce. And I'm like, we have Tabasco and Cholula. And she would always say, you don't have Louisiana hot sauce. I'm like,
Tabasco.
Yeah, we have Tabasco. What do you want? But what I
really
it became a script. It became a script for us. Where it was like, and it took me a while to realize it was part of the script for her to do her job. Where it was kind of like, oh, it doesn't fucking matter if we get Louisiana hot sauce.
Trying to just stop her.
The cat's having a good
wilding
time.
out. All right.
And we've had our cat noise for the episode.
Yeah.
Or like at least one of them for the episode.
But it didn't matter if I bought Louisiana hot sauce for her, she would just have to find something else to complain about.
Right.
Because the whole point is that she's complaining about something, she's sending it back, she's creating boundaries, she's establishing herself as the person in charge, she's gaining that control.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean,
and then,
even if she's not a pro, like, still, like, just establishing that dynamic in obviously, like, some kind of, or maybe not obviously, but, some kind of sexual celebrity relationship.
Well, that's so fascinating, and I wonder if she worked that out consciously, or if it was just sort of a thing that she had learned being in that world, right? I mean, if you're a Playboy model, like, she probably, like, lived in LA or whatever, like, went to the mansion, like, did the parties and stuff, and realized what to do to not get taken advantage of, right?
Right.
And so I don't know if it was, so then when she started doing whatever it was she was doing here, whether it's escort work or not, but if she consciously worked that out of, like, I take this guy out, I show him that, like, I mean business and people don't fuck with me and I get what I want, you know, or if it was just ingrained into her because of living that lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. Like,
so, yeah, it's just so fascinating to me.
she's just used to saying no. Or
Yeah,
used to pushing back.
and used to like having to just put that image out in front of the people she's around and kind of like guard herself because, yeah, I mean, fuck, dude, you just get taken advantage of, and especially when you live in that world, like celebrity, model, actor, actress, LA scene, like all that fucking world is people just wanting to take advantage of you and trying to step on you to get to their next spot, and so you just become this very closed off person and this very like rigid sort of like, I'm not gonna let people step on me, you know.
Yeah.
This is why I hate LA, but you know,
God.
sorry to all our LA listeners.
I don't like
but your
LA
town
either, man.
fucking
San Diego,
sucks.
boy.
I'm just throwing this out there. Fucking Topanga Canyon's awesome, but it's the only thing I miss about LA.
No, there's cool parts of LA. I just have not had like a ton of great experiences there.
Oh no, fuck LA. Don't get me wrong, fuck LA. But I love you, Topanga Canyon.
Yeah.
But like, but that was a good lesson for me just in life in general, where it's like once I understood where she was coming from, and understood the delicate power dynamic she was trying to put together with this person she didn't know that well, and then and all of that, like, God, that's a lesson that I definitely picked up when I started teaching, because, dude, the institutional work, people are trying to protect their shit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people
Yeah.
are trying to figure out what their territory is. Like, I got a teacher, like, you can't fucking get a cardboard box from the storage room without her okay. And I don't know how she got that fucking power, but she has that goddamn power. Whoa. You're like, can I please borrow a empty box you're not using? And they're like, I don't know, I might need it. I'm like, oh my God, how are we having this conversation? But she figured out what her power was.
Like fill out the forms, submit the fucking.
It's all power, man. All of that wild shit's power.
So, in the teaching world, does it feel volatile because of, I mean, just because there are, I don't know how to phrase it, because there's so many things that could sort of get you in trouble. Like, even for instance, this, like, you got to watch your ass on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so do you think that creates some of that power struggle where people feel like they really need to carve out their spot to ensure that they stay there, because like any little fuck up or any like weird thing that happens can lose you that job or lose you that position in your world? Like, do you feel like that's a thing? Is that accurate to describe it that way?
It's tough because, like, yes, people feel that. I think for the most part, people are incorrect to feel that, because
probably right.
Because once you're aware of some of like the real bullshit that's happening under the surface and the shit that people are getting away with, and the shit that your union is paying legal fees for on the behalf of people that are doing some actual fucked up shit. Like, for example, never have sex with a student.
Well,
ever.
For fuck's sake.
Ever.
You think?
Ever.
No, but here's the deal.
Unless you're a woman and he's a boy, because like
never is never. Don't live out your fantasy.
I'm joking.
But it's like
it's a South Park reference,
right?
But
nice,
you know, nice. Exactly.
but we hear these stories, or like there's people in my union who have had sex with students who are on desk leave.
Oh God!
We call it, you're in the rubber room. You have to report. And you're still getting paid a full salary, but you're pretty much sitting in the staff lounge all fucking day, getting paid a full salary, but you're not allowed to be with students.
But because how do they keep you on? Why don't they just fire your ass?
Dude, the union. And the union,
you have to show up, but you can't talk to kids, so you hang out in the teacher's lounge.
And the
all day.
union's not bad. But when we're fighting,
but how does the union protect that? That still just seems like such the most blatant no. Like, don't fuck your students. Come on. Like, rule number 1.
Well, while it's pending, the union can't really.
Oh, while they're doing an investigation, because it's an investigation.
It may not be criminal. It may
Yeah.
not be a criminal thing. It might just be you fucked a student. But
How is it not criminal though? Like your students are underage.
Sometimes.
Not always.
Okay, not always, right?
And when can you prove a
Because
relationship
sometimes you
started?
turn 18 while you're still
Also,
a senior.
if the student is not
For fuck's sake.
like providing information, if they're like fuck that,
Yeah.
they're not providing any information, then who can prove anything?
Right. Wow.
So that's some real fucked up shit that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, me fucking smoking weed and talking to you guys over the summer doesn't necessarily scare me that they're gonna get me.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of fear. Like, I don't
Right.
live in the boundary that I work in.
Right.
And I'm not sure I would ever want to. I already run into enough of my students as it is.
Also,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I have to ask this too, given the world we live in now and like the things you see going on in like Evergreen College and like Reed and stuff, which like if listeners don't know what I'm talking about, just Google that shit. But do you ever get worried that like you're gonna say something that's un-PC? I mean, I know that you are.
I'm more PC than most.
Okay, I know
was
that you're
gonna
pretty
say,
good.
I
People
am
just
not.
make mistakes, right? You say something that's within your own like personal, within your own personal politic.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But one person gets offended, and it sort of blows up, and it gets a little like wild. And I mean, knowing you, like, I don't think that you'd run into that. But do you ever like? Are you ever concerned about that?
Or do you ever see your peers running into that?
Well, first of all, so this might be a controversial statement, but like I don't think it should be, but of course that's why it's controversial. Like I think social justice should be part of our curriculum, and I think that I think as teachers,
fair.
Yeah.
as teachers, we are frontline social justice warriors.
I think
don't-
that's great too, because I would love to see responsible social justice taught
Yeah.
too,
Fucking
and not
A.
just these like witch hunty Twitter things
Yeah.
that like.
Well, yeah,
And let's see some mental health taught in schools.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you should come to my school, but but
Enroll, dude. Enroll.
But the second, I mean, honestly, we're doing great things.
Good.
But the part of that is also, this is my viewpoint. I have to love every single student.
Of course.
I have to love the kid wearing the MAGA hat.
Yeah.
I have to love him.
Yeah.
I have to love the kid who, when, we had a third of our student body walk out for the school violence protest.
Yeah. What was
We
the
ha-
name of that? Yeah.
For the March for Our Lives.
March
Yeah,
for Our
exactly,
Lives.
yeah.
We had a third of our students, and some of those students are like, I don't want to dox them, but like they are some of the most inspirational people in my life. Some of those kids that led that rally,
Yeah.
I'm getting misty thinking about these kids. I love them so much. I have to love them, and I do love them, but I also have to love the student who took an NRA flag and was running around their peaceful protest.
Right.
I have to love the counter protester, and I have to love all these
Right.
kids because the second I don't love a kid,
Do
I can't do my job.
your peers share that view? Because
No,
I mean, you're a
fuck,
magical
man.
fucking person to
They don't
have
care.
that view.
They don't care. That's not true. That's not true. Everyone comes from a different position.
Of course.
And that's the thing about teaching is like it's like school in general. You get all kinds of people in this profession. Like you get the fuck ups, you get the whiz kids, you get the kids, you get people who have never, like, we have one teacher on our staff who has never voted in her life.
What?
And she's in her mid upper 30s, never voted in her life, doesn't see the point,
all right.
And then we
Did she
have
grow up in Portland?
yes,
Okay.
Burbs.
Yeah. No, I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm not defending that point of view, but like, I
No,
understand how growing up in Oregon as a liberal Democrat could lead you to believe that your vote would never have value.
she's not a liberal Dem.
Oh, well then, whatever.
She's
Anyway.
Wow, that's kind of wild.
She's a bourbon, and that's the other thing. Like I kind of work in the burbs, so it's like it's a she is a sheltered, like, evangelical.
Huh.
Wow. Okay, I don't begin to understand any of her rationale.
So that's a
but-
whole other. So I'm dealing with that community. I'm dealing with the American white evangelical community. I'm dealing with the immigrant Eastern European, Ukrainian, Russian, Orthodox community. I'm dealing with the people who live in Milwaukee because it's one of the cheapest places you could fucking live in the metro area. And God, they have issues and they're trying to fucking survive. I'm dealing with those kids. I'm dealing with the kids that are bussing in from Portland. I'm dealing with the kids that are bussing in from Gresham because they don't want to go to Gresham. No, they don't want to go to David Douglas.
Right.
They don't. They don't want to go to their neighborhood school because they know it hasn't been successful. We're dealing with this mess of a population. That is very divergent. And that's America, right? It's very divergent. But it's like I get to work with them. I don't interact with them on social media. I don't interact with them with tweets and shared stories.
And that's the difference.
It's like these kids who are fuck ups, but I can love them. I got to find a way to love them every single day, and I got to make sure that they, because it's twofold, because they got to respect me too, even if we disagree, because I'm trying to teach them something.
Right.
And it's not I'm trying to teach them to be a fucking hippie ass liberal like I am. I'm trying to teach them math. I'm trying to teach them language arts. I'm trying to teach them how to survive.
Right.
Give
them skills.
Give them real skills.
Yeah.
And so they don't care, for the most part, that I'm a softy liberal. But it's who you are, and when you're on stage for like 60 minutes every day in front of some kids, they know where you stand. I remember during the Clinton-Trump election, kids asked me. The kids were very interested. Where do you stand on this? Like, what who are you going to vote for? What are you going to do? And it's kind of like, as clear as it was. I couldn't really say. And elections in November. Yeah. I just met the kids in September.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like I can't say, I'm voting for Clinton. That's what I'm going to do. Like I felt like that would have been inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. I think that's correct. Most of my good teachers, when we were talking about elections, said, I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for, but I'm pretty sure you can figure it out.
And that's my answer. It's like by the end of the year, I hope you know me enough that you can see where I stand on these things.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'll never forget, man.
And not to even go down this fucking road, but why... All right, maybe I shouldn't even open this can of worms, but it's so frustrating that people say that, we shouldn't talk about politics. You know what? Politics affect everyone, man.
Oh, I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about politics.
No, but a lot of people have that stance, right?
Oh, no.
Who I'm voting for to be the leader of my fucking nation. And
are you
people
about,
that
Are you talking about, the notion that if you want polite conversation, you shouldn't talk about sex, politics, or religion?
Yeah, that whole notion, right? And just a lot of people are like, oh, I just don't want to talk about my politics and stuff. And it's like, yeah, but these are the things that are shaping our lives around us, And why should it be so taboo to even say who I'm voting for? I mean, I guess because people just get shitty about it, But... I don't know. Anyway, I don't really want to open that can of worms, but I'm just going to...
I feel like that can of worms is only relevant in places where it's a captive audience, like work.
Sure.
You shouldn't talk about that shit at work.
But school's a captive audience.
Okay.
All right.
I guess that's fair.
I'm not paid to tell them...
Work.
I'm not paid to... I'm not paid to tell them how they should vote. I'm paid to teach them some shit.
Right.
That's fair.
But
okay. So he's got to be objective.
But even when a kid asks me those questions... why can't I say who I am when I'm asked a question?
Yeah.
Just for a frame of reference, can I ask you what your classroom size is?
30.
Okay. Jesus. I mean, that's pretty big. When I was in high school, we were at 40-something, and it was considered insane. We were
that is insane.
35 to 40 in a classroom, and
that's insane.
Fuck, man, less than 30 is what it should be.
It's inappropriate to be more than 30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 30 is kind of tough. I don't know, because you got to know everybody.
You do.
And it depends on workload. It's if I had 2 sections of 60 kids, I think that'd be fine. But I have 4 sections of 30 kids, which is fine.
Right.
But personal relationships is a huge part of it, and that's the other thing. And that's why my anonymity on the podcast is a thing. I'm not actually worried about the students that I know because they know me,
right? Mm-hmm.
And they know who I am. We've spent time together.
You've established a relationship.
When we establish the relationship, they know where I stand. They know what I'm about. They know. And not know. They've seen that I've stood up for them. It's everybody else. It's the problem because the problem with education in this country. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant.
Please do.
Is that we're not listening to the people engaged in those conversations. I mean, the first people, like when you talk about education is wrong in this country, the very first people you should talk to are the students.
Absolutely.
They are the ones living it more than anybody else. They're the ones that need to be heard about what is education doing for you and what is it not doing for you. And and that's our priority list. Second are the education team. Okay, your teachers, your counselors, you know.
Sure.
But the last person you need to fucking hear from is fucking Joe Schmo who's pissed that his property tax went up $10 because they want to fucking retrofit your elementary school so it doesn't fall down in an earthquake.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's the shit that drives me crazy. Those are the motherfuckers that are talking about education like, what do we need this for? Like let's put everything online. It's like, oh, you want to put everything online?
Oh, God.
You want to put have you tried to learn anything online, motherfucker? It's hard.
The worst.
Yeah. It is hard.
The worst. The only classes that I've come close to failing were online courses because I had to do everything in like the last 3 weeks because I fucked it off for the longest time.
Yeah.
You know?
No, you're 100% right because the students, people don't give enough credit to young people. The students know. I mean, when I was in high school, we had this class called Critical Skills, and I went into that class excited. I was like, oh, cool, you're literally telling me you're going to teach me critical skills, things that I am going to take into the real world. You know, because I'm sure you hear it from students, and students talk about it all the time, like, when am I ever going to need this in my real life or whatever, right? And a lot of that stuff you don't, it's the work, you know, it's just doing the work. Anyway, but fucking, my critical skills class, so the first bit was they taught us how to fill out applications, and they literally copied McDonald's applications and had us fill those out.
What?
Then they did mock interviews where we just teamed up with other kids and did mock interviews, but interviewing for McDonald's. They literally said, pretend that you were interviewing for McDonald's.
You didn't have outside community people come in to mock interview?
No. Then...
That's baseline.
Our personal finance class was even more fun.
The entire rest of the class, so the rest of the 8 weeks was ASVAB testing, which was military. It was military.
Oh, yeah, never mind. That's
career
way worse
placement.
Low bar.
Low bar. And so we do all these like computer tests and all these other tests, and it was career placement, except they give you your top 3 military careers. And then, like, the other thing that, like, maybe you should do. And for me, it was...
So McDonald's or military, that's what you're being offered.
That was literally what we were being offered. And at the end of all the military testing, you know, I get my report back. And it's this lengthy thing. But more or less it told me, hey, you could be a weapons tech specialist. You could be this in the military. Or an artist. Fucking just artist. Like, yeah, you don't think I already fucking knew that? Like, and
God damn it.
The whole time I'm sitting there going, like, I want to know how to balance a checkbook and how to take out a loan and how to, you know, have a bank account. They didn't teach you how
to balance a checkbook?
No.
We literally had to pass a test.
No, I wanted to know how to buy a car. I wanted to know how to buy a house. I wanted to know how to invest money. I wanted to know anything that I would consider a critical skill.
Right.
And they didn't give us a single one of them. Like... I mean, filling out an application, I guess, is a critical skill. So, I guess I got one, you know? It was ridiculous, though, man. Yeah. And so, anyway, yeah, just to bring it back, like, student, even at 16 years old, I knew that this fucking class was bullshit.
Oh, for real?
And, yeah, I wish anyone had talked to me about it and been like, no, I just listed out all the things that I know that I want to learn, that I want to get out of this class. So, yeah, it was mind-blowing.
Yeah, I just to follow up on that, I had to write checks for a lot of vendors at the last job that I had, and I also worked with a lot of 20-somethings, and I'll never forget. I came into work one day, and one of the guys that I was working with had just been made a co-manager, and he's like, "Holy shit, dude! the tofu guy had to teach me how to write a check yesterday.
Oh, shit.
What? And he's like, I've literally never written a check in my whole life. I'm like, oh, yeah, right? Like, when would you ever have to write a check? And he's like, I know. It was really weird. And the guy just sat there and showed me everything to do on there. When did you learn that? I'm like, dude, I had a class in high school that taught us how to balance a checkbook and all this stupid shit that we were never going to use.
I did mine in home ec in middle school. That's when I learned to write a check. I had my first checking account in high school. Like,
we had a class called personal finance, and we did green screen fucking Apple IIe aptitude tests. Oh no, they were on fucking 486s. That's right. It was fucking an actual DOS program, but like, holy shit, dude! Like, it was wicked dated for the time, you know. And I mean, I graduated, as I said, in '96, so it had to be in '93 or something like that.
Yeah.
And we're just like, how is this a class that we're taking right now? This is a class about writing checks and like taking shitty tests to figure out that you're a janitor, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
God damn it. However, that's nowhere near as fucked as taking a McDonald's branded interview course and then
it was
military aptitude tests.
It was crazy, man.
Brutal.
Streamlining you for a life of servitude.
My entire schooling experience, I'll go off on like one little other thing, because my entire schooling experience, so like, yeah, I got super jaded to education because of all of this stuff. Yeah, and so because Fort Collins was a test market for a lot of things. Like, a lot of products would get tested there, but one of the things that we were a test market for, yeah, I believe we're all out of those beverages, dude. But you want to bring that tequila over here? There we go. One of the things that we were a test market for was in elementary. We did this thing called CSMP learning. I don't even remember what it stands for. It was a, new math, basically. And what it was instead of classic algebra and classic, like the classic way you would do math on pen and paper, it was these boards, these magnetic boards that were divided up into 4 squares. They all had different colors. And then we had magnets that were different colors, and they represented different values. And so it was like, the board was like, top left was 1, to the right was 2, and then like, I think it was like 5 and then 10 or something. Okay. And you would move these magnets around and say like, oh, I'm adding magnets over to this board.
1 and 2 is 3.
Yeah, totally.
2 twos is 4.
Yeah, and you can start kind of putting together how it worked. Well, it's fine and well, except that that's not how fucking anyone does math in the real world. And when I got to junior high, so they ran CSMP in my school district from the time I was in kindergarten to the time that I was in 6th grade, and then they discontinued it. So my entire elementary school was this bullshit math learning, and then I got into junior high and couldn't do times tables or I actually still like kind of suck at long division because I never practiced it.
When do you need long division though?
I mean, you don't, but but I needed it for schoolwork, and so I was awful in junior high math classes. I was a smart kid all through elementary, and then all of a sudden I get into a math class and I'm like, oh, I actually don't know any of this.
Oh.
Yeah, like
you're a smart kid whether or not you fucking can do well.
Well, no, okay, sorry, you know what I mean.
I know. I
was a successful student.
These things mean things to me.
And then I started suffering in my math classes, which is ridiculous because I was fine at math, but I had to reteach myself the entire process, and I mean it was just dude, it was such trash.
Well, I have a problem. I have a problem with the traditional way we teach math because it is very linear and it's very rigid. And I think the way that most of us interact with math is not that way. I think a lot of us use a lot of strange, intuitive processes that we build over time to solve these mathematical problems. And so I think, personally, giving students alternative ways to think about their number sets is pretty important. I do teach math, so that these are things I think about. and it's one of those things where it's like we look at the factory model as one of the things that's super fucked up about our education system, but for math, you know, we adhere to the factory model a little bit too much. You know, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, do it. Instead of giving students open-ended mathematical problems that they have to figure out and navigate on their own. So that's in my professional development, that's something right now that I'm really trying to do, is to come up with these complicated, weird problems where I don't give a shit if they get the right answer. What I care about is that they're using mathematical reasoning to figure out how they approach this problem.
Yeah.
And even if they, like, it's really weird when you think about like your English or social studies, you know, or even science a little bit, if you get the wrong answer, as long as your process is good, no one gives a shit. But with math,
that's real.
With math, you have to get the right answer.
Right.
Otherwise you fucked it up.
It's pretty rigid.
And that's what I'm trying to change. I'm trying to like, and that new math shit, that's what that's ultimately trying to get at. Is what do we do about that? How do we reward, or how do we encourage creative thinking that's mathematical and logical, even if it's wrong, even if mistakes are made, even if you don't get to the answer, but you're still thinking about the world in a very critical way.
That's super interesting.
I like that because I actually almost got held back in geometry because I wasn't using formulas. I couldn't memorize the formulas for some reason. I think it was just because I didn't give a shit, but I could get the right answer every time just by working it out.
Like intuitive, almost.
Just by doing fucking arithmetic or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't using any of the shortcuts.
You know, I attended this conference, and it's...
But I almost got failed just because I wasn't using the formulas, even though I got the right answers.
Yeah.
Well, right. That's the thing. Because, like, that was always the thing in math class. Show your work,
like,
right?
He's like, you're not using the process. So, like, this is wrong.
The fucking show your work thing is such bullshit because it's all about, like, the only reason any teacher says show your work is, well, most teachers. That's not fair. Most teachers say show your work because they want to prove that you didn't cheat.
Right.
What a fucking low, goddamn base way to view your students.
Yeah.
You got the right answer, you must have fucking cheated. Fuck that.
Right.
Fuck that viewpoint. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cheating. But
Sure. Oh, especially in math class.
But why are you creating a system where cheating is possible? Is my whole thing. I think about structure. Like, don't create a system where cheating is possible.
Exactly.
Create complicated situations where they have to show their, like, it's like an essay. You can't cheat on an essay unless you fucking, Google search.
Plagiarize it.
Yeah, like Great Gatsby, and
Yeah.
you fucking copy paste that shit,
Right.
and you fucking, which is easy to find because you're like.
Oh god, anymore? It's insane. There's even fucking sites that will like random fucking word stuff so that you're not necessarily plagiarizing.
Oh my god,
it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But
don't tell my students about those.
I might be making that up, just so your students.
But we use a program. Students turn in their essays through a program that checks it against other essays.
No shit.
Oh no, absolutely. I got busted for plagiarism my last fucking stint in higher education because I used a paper that I had written previously. And another...
That was your own paper, though?
Yeah, it was a paper that I had written. And not only that, I had revised it and added new sources. But, I mean, it was still the same argument,
Yeah.
But, ostensibly a better argument. And my teacher failed me. She said that, I Googled this. Yeah, I found it on this website. And I said, cool, check out what it says on this website now. My name is X. I wrote this.
Yeah.
I take full credit for the paper that I wrote for this class. And I sent an email to my administrator, like, hey, It's cool if you guys want to fail me for this class for resubmitting a paper that I used at a different school for a different class. I'm cool with that.
Just
as
don't call
long
it
as you're not
Yeah, don't
accusing me
call
of
me.
plagiarism.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
You know?
I have failed a student for submitting the same paper twice. Just to be fair. Just to be fair.
And that's fair. And also, like, fuck me for posting a paper that I wrote online, you know? Like, what kind of pretentious douche does that, you know? So, you know.
Keep updating your blog with your fucking good
I mean, like, obviously I'm proud of this paper, but, like, fuck, man. Didn't need that, you know? Anyway, yeah. Fucking plagiarism search is a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the crazy thing too about me almost failing geometry is the very next class that I had was Algebra 2, and it was taught by a football coach who had a math class because he took math in college. Not because he was a mathematician.
Yeah.
But because he had taken higher education math courses.
Yep.
This man regularly got math wrong while he was working out problems on the overhead projector. And I learned to fall asleep with my eyes closed. Oh, I'm sorry, eyes open. Also, my current roommate was the man who was correcting my fucking homework. And for some reason, even though all he would do is hand a blank paper to the person behind him and have them fill in the answers for him, he would not do the same thing for me. So I failed that class.
Damn.
And had to take technical math the next term. And that was actually a really good thing because I sat in the back of the class with a bunch of kids who had great drug connections.
There you go.
You know, it fueled the rest of my high school career. Let's just say that.
So I got to look for the drug connections in my.
You're not teaching remedial math though. You don't have to worry about that.
Actually, I am. I'm teaching Well, this is another fucked up thing. This is the fucking education industry. It's like. You're locked in, man. You do your 3 years probation. Like, you do your 3 years, it's so hard to fire you. Like, you can fuck a student, you can't get fired. I was telling that story earlier.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
Like, no one fucking fires anybody. And, because it's, people fire themselves. I got a couple firing stories if we want to hear how you get fired from Ed. But... But the problem ultimately is like people don't get fired, and so people can just fucking suck at their job for 30 years, you know, like
yeah,
and you know.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
No, like you guys have experienced it, and so when you're trying to have a department and you're trying to have a program, you know, it's one of those things where after a while, like we have a bunch of students that are failing this given course every year. And at a moment, it's just kind of like, what's going on? What are we doing? Like, are we seriously saying half of our students are bad students? That can't be true. We can't believe that's the truth.
Right.
So what is actually happening? But when you try to put personal responsibility on an educator, you know, we're a little bit too protected in that. Like, I strongly believe that we should be protected in our job security and should be mentored and brought up. But if you suck... If you're not, if you're Coach McGurk and you don't give a shit, like, what are we doing to make sure Coach McGurk's kids are doing well? Like, are we making Coach McGurk a better teacher? Are we saying if you can't fucking help these kids out, you're not coaching next? Like, what do we have to do to treat our kids better? It's a tough little deal.
I think to bring it back a
By the
little
way,
bit.
I love that you know about Coach McGurk.
He's my favorite.
I know John Benjamin.
I think you're just 100% correct of that they're not talking to the right people. And, I mean...
Talk to kids.
Yeah.
Talk to students.
Right.
They know what's going on.
They know. They're smart enough. We should give them more credit.
They need help.
Absolutely.
They need help articulating their experiences. But we need to empower these kids. And I'll say this, like, we're 30-somethings, you know, and this generation that I get to teach is... so much better than we ever were.
Yeah.
They are amazing people. They are powerful. They're jaded. They're hurt. They're wounded. They're anxious.
They have access to the internet. They have grown up with the information age, so they
capable of seeing the bigger picture.
Well, yeah, and even like the jaded thing of like, I mean, I always think about this, and like even like Kevin Smith talks about this on his podcast of like, man, I had to find porn like in my friend's dad's bedroom,
we stole
or
it
like
from
out,
Walden Books.
out like behind the bridge, or you stole it from a place.
And it was Playboy.
Yeah,
It
right.
was tasteful.
Yeah, and like 10-year-olds have seen like dudes fucking horses and shit, and it's like not even the weirdest thing they've seen on the internet.
Right.
And yeah, like talk about jaded at an early age, man. Like
Right.
Oh, I know.
Jesus.
If you have given your children unrestricted internet access prior to adulthood,
It doesn't even matter if you restrict it because
They're
you just
smart.
find
right,
it.
that's
We're
right.
all
Yeah.
smart enough
That's
to
right.
figure this shit out.
No,
we
that's
all
right.
got around every fucking
I forgot.
barrier our parents tried to put up
forgot.
for us.
Well, plus
sorry.
it infiltrates anyway. Like you read all the stuff in the last year about like all the YouTube stuff that's super subversive that was like targeted towards kids
God.
that wasn't
Yeah.
getting flagged by parental controls because it was
that
animated
might
and
be
had
the
Spider-Man. You
biggest foot I've put in my mouth on this podcast.
know? No, dude.
No, but but I think the issue is like, and I don't even have a problem with that. Like a parent doesn't understand how to put filters on. I don't see that as a flaw in parenting.
No, and honestly, like, what the fuck can you do? Like, your kid can just go to the library, and if the fucking library's filters aren't good enough,
No,
they
and
can
these
fucking
are-
see anything they
and
want, you know?
All he needs is one friend who doesn't have parental
Yep.
filters, and then you're just hanging out on
Right.
recess and
Check it out, dude. I got an iPhone. Let's go look at porn, you know? Like,
Yeah.
fuck.
And it's also think about these. That's the other thing. Like think about these kids' lives. That's the thing that I think doesn't happen enough because, you know what, 45% of, and this is a real statistic. Like I'm not totally drunkenly making this out of my fucking bullshit. 45% of kids are in low income.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Well, no kidding.
like
That's
half,
just-
and
Yeah,
that's
I mean, wealth disparity in this country
Yeah.
is
almost half of
So
our
real.
kids are poor as shit. That means single parent households, or at least households where both parents are working all the time. And fuck, man, what are they supposed to do? What you know? And it's not the parents' fault. They're trying to provide. It's not the kids' fault. They're just living in the world, and they're gonna get some fucked up messages, man.
Big time.
Mm-hmm.
Breaks my goddamn heart.
Yeah. All right. Well, not to end on a bad note, give us a happy anecdote, and we'll kind of wrap this up. If you have one. If you don't, well, fucking burn it down.
You know, it's weird because, like, and this is what happens is, like, I came in thinking I'd talk about bartending, but, like, really,
Well, and
it's talk
guess
about
what? Like, we want to get you on the pod more, so, like...
Right,
Cool.
yeah.
There's plenty more that you can say.
Yeah, if we even just need to tie it up now, like, that's cool. Like, you're going to be back.
No, I definitely have happy anecdotes. This last year, we had 2 students graduate who were homeschooled, and they were it's a sad anecdote at the start, but it ends better. I had these 2 students that were homeschooled because they were in these really super weird religious Christian background where they weren't allowed to interact with the greater public, and eventually, you know, they're the youngest. They were twins. They're the youngest of this family, and so eventually the parents just couldn't deal with it anymore. So they're like, all right, we'll send them to public school and see what happens, and see how sin fucks them up or whatever. And these two girls graduated as co-valedictorians in 3 years.
What?
Wow.
With their college degrees, because that's one of the things we do at my school.
Oh.
And
Cool.
like, so they've got their associate's degree. They've got, they're both valedictorians, and they did it in 3 years. And they left their families, it's really bizarre. Like this schooling experience, these 3 years I had with them, they were both able to monumentally reshape their lives and reshape their futures. They were no longer going to be voiceless, silenced baby factories.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
They get to be themselves, and they're the 2 of the most powerful, beautiful women I've ever met in my life. I look up to them immensely, but it's one of the powers of public education that maybe people don't see, is like they got to find themselves because they weren't in the captivity of their religion. And so if there's
Yeah.
any powerful anecdote
That's
about
fucking killer.
about education, it's that it really does transform people's lives to find value outside of however you grew up. Because one of the things that I really believe in is one of the most important things we can do as people is to uproot ourselves, plant ourselves somewhere else, and see how much of us is us and how much of us is the situation we were brought up in. Okay, anyone that's ever left their hometown knows what I mean by that.
Yeah,
God damn,
absolutely.
yes.
You got to do that, because like how much of you is you and how much of you are the pressures around you. And these are two women that fucking crushed, and they're two of my heroes, and I got to teach them for 3 years, and I get to be Facebook friends with them now that they're graduates.
Yeah, man.
Because I have a hard rule. Not till you graduate. You walk across that stage. Okay, we can do this.
Stick to your guns.
Or deny.
Yeah.
But I get to see them become two of my most favorite people in the world. And so that's the sort of thing that like my friends will never see.
Yeah.
You never get to see that part of me where I get to help these people grow over my time with them. I get to see them transform. I get to see them become real people, become ready to take on the world. And I feel so goddamn lucky. I feel so goddamn lucky every single day that I have the opportunity to have an influence on some of the best people I'll ever meet.
Hey man, straight up, most parents don't receive that opportunity just because their kids are too fucking close to them. You know, like
right.
That's really powerful, and I'm glad that you have that in your life.
And I push back on my colleagues, because a lot of my colleagues hate parents because parents will call you out on your bullshit.
Well, and they're so protective.
They're protective.
Yeah.
And I think it's fair. Like I had another student who like, and this is smaller anecdote, like both sets of her parents, because it's a broken home because it's fucking modern America, and I come from a broken home, so I get it. Like I got 4 parents talking about her Algebra 1 grade, and I'm like, okay, all right, I hear what you're saying. We'll work it out. And then, so they fucking bounce, and I talked to this student, and I'm like, what the fuck was that about?
Oh yeah, right.
And she's like, they are so controlling over everything I do. I'm like, do you get my class? She's like, yeah. I'm like, are you slacking? A little bit. I'm like, can you fix that so that I don't have to deal with your folks anymore? She's like, all right, cool. It's like, okay, cool. I got your back. Nice. And that's it. You get to talk to these little people like they're people, and recognize the stresses in their life and negotiate with them. That's why I'm like, when that girl, if she ever hears this podcast, she'll know we went through that experience together. She'll know what I'm talking about, and know that was an act of love for her. Like, I'm not like, who cares about her parents? Like, listen to the kid.
Yeah.
Always listen to the kid.
Exactly.
Those kids are telling you some truth.
Well, that's all I ever wanted in my schooling. In my schooling was just someone who would talk to me like a person, break it down for me, and just say like, hey, all right, like how are we gonna fix this?
Mm-hmm.
How are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
How are we gonna get you through this next semester or whatever? And I basically got so little of that. Ever. So
can you imagine someone leveling with you like that? Like,
dude, well,
what the fuck was that? What's wrong with your stupid parents?
I had one teacher that did that because I was cutting class, and he brought me in one day and was like, look, man, like, I get it. This shit sucks, but, like, will you just show up to my class? Will you just do that? And I did. And it kept me in school, like,
That was a real human being who spoke to you that day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
totally.
And that's a lesson Bonnie taught me. You remember Bonnie from the bar, the fucking playmate?
Yeah, there we go.
Exactly.
That's the lesson she taught me, is it took me too long to hear her, what she was trying to do.
There you go. Interesting.
Because I was so caught up in my own work. And teachers are fucked up like that too. It's like, I got my curriculum, I got my grading schedule. It's like, who gives a shit about any of that? Like, why are we here? It's about taking care of people.
Well, that's the truly good teachers are the people who are willing to sacrifice themselves for the good of these other people, Like, and you're a selfless person like that, man. Like, that's why we love you, because you're so good at doing that. You are willing to sacrifice yourself for the good of everyone else around you.
Damn fucking straight.
And
well, I'm not going to push back about that, but
because it's right, it's correct.
I don't think it's like, I don't think it's as heroic as you're trying to make it seem. Like, you just take care of the people around you, and because people need taken care of.
Look,
I
be
tell you what,
humble all you want.
We
but-
wouldn't be trying to make it seem heroic if it was more common. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying.
Well, if anyone gets anything out of this fucking podcast, take care of the people around you because
Yeah.
they deserve being taken care of. Because we're all fighting a battle no one sees. You don't know what's going on. Like, I find out years later that a kid was sexually abused. You know, I find out, like, you don't know the horrors of this job.
Right.
And the counselors don't tell me sometimes, which is great because they don't want to poison the way I view a kid.
Yeah.
They don't want me to view a kid as broken, and I get the way I know why they do that.
yeah, that's important.
I know why they do that because once you view a person as broken, you fucking give up on them. But like, none of these people are broken. They're struggling, and let's like build them all up. And you gotta love everyone. Like the kid running around the fucking rally with an NRA flag. That kid's broken too.
Right, of course.
In a different way.
Exactly right.
And maybe I don't get the way he's broken, the way that I get someone who's been broken the way I've been broken. But we can all bring that love to each other, Like, I guess it's the most fucking touchy-feely teacher thing.
Hey, man.
I could fucking
Hey, man.
Nah, dude.
do.
More of that in our world.
That's
God
great,
damn
man.
it.
Well, that's
I
where
wish
I'm
every
at.
teacher was like you, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
It would be a better place.
And I think that's a good place to kind of wrap this up, man, is...
Yeah.
Man.
Killing it on the touchy-feely wrap-up.
Yeah. No, I really like hearing that from you, and I don't know. Obviously, we're friends for a reason, and I knew that. I don't know what to say. It's cool to hear you explain this a little bit deeper because I know that you're a sentimental person, and I know that you have a huge heart, and I know that you care about people a lot, and yeah, like if you want to be humble about like the work that you're doing is like not heroic, but it is. You're shaping our future. You're really putting in like positive work for people that matter, and you're taking care of your community. And
Absolutely.
And people don't do that enough. So
Not only that, but I mean, just from the tiny anecdotes that I've heard from you, it really sounds like you are doing positive work for those kids. And,
absolutely.
and they're letting you know that, maybe not every fucking time, but certainly you've got some cases to show that, holy shit, dude, you're a fucking awesome human being, and you're helping people
Hell yeah, man.
achieve their fucking potential, and that's... We need more of you, and I'm really happy that you're doing the work that you're doing.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's once you start doing this kind of work, once you start working in your community, and I advocate everybody working in their community in whatever regard you can, it's addicting because once you see the good that you're capable of in the tiniest sacrifices you make, you just want to do more. Like I'm never gonna have a family. I'm not gonna have kids. That's not on my agenda. And a lot of people...
It's actually a shame, because you'd be such a good
I would be a great dad. I'd be a great dad. I'd be a great dad, but we would never hang out.
Yeah.
If I had a fucking little spawn at home...
Isn't that the fucking
we would
twisted
never be
bitch
friends.
of it all?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Honestly,
Because you'd constantly be taking care of other people's fucking kids.
but I do that anyway. But honestly, those parents, like, they need a little help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not easy to raise a little buddy.
Hey, it takes a village, right?
Well,
I mean, it's
it
true.
should, but not the way our culture's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if
fucking
I
cliche.
can step out of it and like, yeah, it's a job.
But I'm just saying,
workers'
like,
rights.
you're that part of the village that's helping all these other assholes who are fucking hunting and gathering to raise their fucking children,
No.
Well, I hope I'm doing a good job, and I hope they appreciate it.
Oh my
and
God.
I know they do, they do. I go to graduation every year. Holy shit! So my wife went to graduation this year because those two most amazing, inspirational women that I've ever met were graduating this last year, and one of them worked with my wife. A favor that we brokered that ultimately helped my wife's company more than it helped the girl. That's a story for not on the podcast. But they were graduating. She was graduating, so my wife wanted to show up to support her, and it was really powerful because like my wife doesn't like no one sees my work. You know, I'm not an artist. I'm not a fucking, you know, like I'm not, you know, like I don't bring home money. It's not like I made a big sale. Like, no, nothing happens. Like, I just go to work every day and, you know, drink myself to death. Because it's hard. It's fucking hard. Anybody thinking about being a teacher, it's hard, and you better be prepared for that. But, you know, when you go to something like a graduation and you're walking around the halls, and I don't want to, like, you called me humble, so I'm going to not be humble. Everybody wants to talk to me. Everyone wants to shake my hand. Everyone wants me to pose with their family.
I was hoping that we would get to this.
Everybody, and like, I can't say this in otherwise outside of this podcast, but, like, I'm kind of a badass when it comes to this sort of shit.
I'm telling you. Of course you are.
It's truth. But it's like, you see, like, you know, I had a fucking broken conversation in Spanish with one of my student who's on DACA. His father, who runs his own landscaping business, had a broken conversation in Spanish. He spoke better English than I spoke Spanish, but it was more important that I spoke Spanish than he spoke English.
I agree with
that. To show him how much I loved his son. You know, and just, you gotta spread that love, man. That's what we're here for.
Hey, man, I'm sure he appreciated that.
I hope so. I know he did. I know he appreciated my work before I met him, and I also have to let the parents know that I appreciate them, because, like, they raise these badass kids that I get to work with an hour a day, and they make my life better. So it's all reciprocal. It's a reciprocal relationship constantly. We're all feeding each other in this positivity.
That's that community building, you know.
Absolutely.
That we just don't see enough of in this day and age, you know.
Fuck, man.
Just caring about your community.
For sure. So if anyone listening to this is feeling inspired a little bit, just, find, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Thanksgiving. These are great times to get out in your community. Spend a couple hours planting a tree, cleaning a river, feeding the homeless. Whatever makes sense for you and your comfort level. Just try something new. Try something different. Get out there and see what it's like, because it's really powerful. And no matter who you are, like, no matter what kind of fuck up you are, like, giving back gives you so much more. So go get some.
Hell yeah. All right.
God damn it, I love you so much.
Yeah.
Cheers,
God
guys.
damn it. We'll call it there. That's some words of wisdom from our dear friend here. And all right, we're gonna get you back on soon. That was great, man.
Cool. Anytime.
All right, we're gonna call it. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.